coming to you from the New School Kitchen, and today we're going to talk a little bit about dark leafy greens and how to eat more. No matter what style of eating you ascribe to, you need your dark leafy greens. It's sort of non-negotiable, really. And not like, oh, once a week I saute some spinach. You need to eat dark leafy greens regularly. They're healing to the body, they give you energy, they provide loads of magnesium, minerals, vitamins, like all the good things. There's a huge long list. And I really feel energized when I eat more dark leafy greens. I know it sounds crazy, but I think you may experience the same thing if you have them regularly in your life. My goal is to eat them once a day. Start small though, 1, 2, 3 times a week if you need to. We're gonna make kale today. Kale's super popular, a lot of us eat it, a lot of us like it, but I often hear from people like, ugh, it's sort of bitter, I don't know, it's boring, I kind of make myself eat it, I choke it down. So I'm gonna show you my quick and easy skillet method for taking any dark leafy green, especially the bitter ones. Kale, collards do beautifully with this method, Swiss chard, if you're really bold, those turnip greens or beet greens or bitter greens like that, and make them really tasty and palatable and yummy and not bitter and gross at all. So let's do it.
Go.
Okay, so here's our kale. This is some lacinato or Tuscan kale. It's a little bit darker and softer. I really love this type of kale, and it's just chopped up. I left the stems intact, but if you're particularly squeamish or you don't like crunchy bits or whatever, take the stems out, that's fine. And we're going to just use some olive oil today. Generally, you don't want to use olive oil on a super high skillet, which this will not be. We're going to hang out around medium here. And we're going to take our kale. So did you see? I used a good bit of olive oil here, right? Don't be afraid. The dark leafy greens are really going to soak it up. You really want to try to buy organic with any leafy vegetables, lettuces, kale, all of those things tend to kind of get sprayed with pesticides really heavily. Whoa! This is kind of the fun part. Kale pops. So just get it all coated with the oil, and then we will salt it. You salt while you cook, right? Not at the end. Salt brings out the flavor in food. Don't be afraid. And yes, oversalting is a terrible thing, but generally when I work with people who are telling me their food doesn't taste good and they don't know why, they're kind of going like that with the salt. So coat it. Get up high and coat it with the salt. Okay, and then move it around and let it soften. What you're going to notice starts to happen is that, especially right after you add the salt, it pulls the moisture from the plant, from the kale in this case, and it makes it watery a little bit. So it's going to release water into the skillet, and you can see it's starting to steam. That's part of the whole cooking process, and we want this water to be released. This is what's softening the kale. So move it around, let it do its thing. You hear the sizzling? You want a constant sizzle like that. You don't want to hear it frying and smoking, and you don't want to hear it just limp in the pan. So cook with your ears, and whatever temperature of your stove, this is like a teeny bit hot, I think. It's kind of smoking a little too much, and play with it. So we let this simmer, or saute rather, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. I like my kale a little bit al dente, a little bit crunchy. But some people want it to be totally mushy, so it's completely your preference. Yes, in general, the more you cook something, the more you're going to lose nutrients, but I wouldn't worry too much about that right now. Just get the dark leafy greens cooked in your body however you like them. There are many, many ways to add nutrients, and we will reinforce all of them. Okay, so you can see the kale. If you want to come in here, it's softening. It's kind of a different green color. If you look, it's brighter and softer. Really lovely. If your kale, if you're finding that it's like sticking to the bottom and it's smoking a lot, you may just need to add a little splash of water, and I'll show you that right now. Just a teeny bit of water to help it along. And to hear that and see that, all of a sudden it's going again, producing some steam, which is softening the kale. And if you really want it to be soft and you want to soften the stems, if you've chosen to use them, you can just put a lid on it for a second after you put the water in and trap that steam in there and let it cook. I like my kale a little crunchy and bright, like I said, so we're gonna move on from this point. Okay. Phase 2 of the cooking kale process. Easy. We're gonna keep everything in the pan, and now we're gonna add some flavor. So, set your kale, just let it kind of hang out for a second. I actually like not mixing it around too much. When you let it set, a couple pieces sort of get crispy, like kale chips, which is kind of fun. All right, and we're gonna come over here to the cutting board, and we're going to chop just a little bit of garlic, because who doesn't love garlic? Garlic and dark leafy greens are a perfect match. They love each other. Helps a lot with that bitterness of the greens and to add a lot of really good flavor. I've got some sort of pitiful looking garlic here, but I'm just gonna, I think for this, just gonna kind of rough chop it. I'm not gonna go crazy. Of course, we all know garlic has amazing health properties. When you're buying garlic in a jar, you are not really getting all of those benefits. I don't think it's bad and evil, and if that's how you need to get your garlic for now, that's great. But if you can hang with some fresh garlic cloves in your kitchen, I keep mine right up here, kind of getting down to the bottom of these cloves. Pull them off. Yes, the paper's a little annoying, but the trick, take your knife, hit the clove. Pop the paper off, and then chop it. So, garlic and crushed red pepper are our next ingredients. So make a flavor well, as I like to call it. Push all the kale to the side, or collards, or whatever you're making, and make a hole in the middle of the skillet here. Then take just a little bit more of your oil, or bacon fat, or whatever you're using. Put it in the middle of the pan, and add your garlic right on top of that oil so it's toasting in the pan there. And immediately, I can smell it, which, who doesn't love that smell? And then take just a pinch of this crushed red. Don't worry, it's not super spicy. It's not like using cayenne. If you don't have crushed red in the kitchen, this is a definite go-to everyday spice and seasoning. It just gives a little warmth. It brings a little dimension to the food. Really, garlic, crushed red, olive oil, and the lemon we're going to add in a minute are such a perfect, simple combination of elements to make any skillet saute taste really good. And just keep it simple. Okay, so we're toasting our garlic in the olive oil. So I've got kind of a crooked stove, which means all the oil went to the side. But toast my garlic for just a minute, and then take the rest of the greens. I'm going to turn this off because the skillet is smoking hot. If you're using cast iron, you know that, I've got garlic all over me now, you know that it holds the heat really well. So at the end of cooking, you can kind of turn it off and still cook for a few minutes, and it's really, really hot and just fine. So, after we add our garlic and crushed red, let it toast for a minute, and then incorporate it into the whole skillet. You're going to take some lemon, and you can use vinegar. I really think the lemon, it's not anything acidic at the end here. I mean, apple cider vinegar is awesome, especially on collards if you want them to taste that traditional southern way. But lemon just brightens, and it really cuts through that bitterness of the greens so beautifully. A little bit more. Awesome. Okay, we're going to remove it from the skillet. I think I got a pit in there. Push it to the side, and take a look at this. Now, we started with a whole lot of kale. We're ending with not a ton of kale, so don't be afraid to add a lot to the pan initially. It does shrink down. You see we've got some crispy bits, which I really like, and some that are still really bright and delicious. And we've got to taste it, right? Here, I'm just going to use my fingers. You know, another fun thing, it's awesome. It's clean, it's delicious, they're greens, they're bright, they're crunchy, they're fresh, but they taste good. It doesn't just taste like a mouthful of grass or whatever greens can taste like. I can taste the garlic, the red pepper comes in at the end, and the lemon is just sort of this constant throughout. Another fun thing to do, throw some pine nuts in at the end, pinole nuts, if you like a little nuttiness and crunch. You can even sprinkle a little bit of hemp hearts on this after you get it on your plate. if that nuttiness helps you and balances out the flavors. So there you have it. That's dark leafy greens in a skillet in, I don't know, 5 minutes flat that actually taste good. So eat more greens, please.